What is up, guys? It is Monday and it is 8 o'clock. Welcome to What's the 411. Very excited for today's show. Very excited for today because it's the end of the month. Like, here we are, November 30th. It has come up real quick. Real quick. So, of course, I am always so excited for a Monday. But this Monday, more than any other Monday. I mean, it's the end of the month. We have 31 days left in 2020, and we are trying to end strong. So, of course, you guys know that this is the last 10-day challenge coming up for 2020. I'm excited about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having you guys join me. There's so many different things happening. This was the last week for Mindset 101, which went incredibly well for the first time putting it out. So I'm excited about it. I've gotten some great ways on how I'm going to change the programs to make sure that we can include more people for next semester. So, of course, we're going to start January. We're going to have some new information rolling out. So, in the background, you're going to hear We Will Rise. This is a new song by Pivotal featuring Tico, Arceza, and Verse. So, I'm just trying to promote these guys a bit, but no, I'm really excited for January. January, I think, and February. I don't have it all planned out, but within the next couple of weeks, you guys are definitely going to see some information on it, some ads on the event, right? So we're excited about it. Hey, so, of course, we are excited to have our guest in the building. I am very excited to hear all about her journey, about what, inspiration she has bringing to the table. What is up? How are you?
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good too. Good. Excited to meet you face to face.
Yes, finally.
Right? Yes, and I just want to thank you because Nicole, guys, was on the live international summit that we had just a couple of weeks ago. So we want to thank Nicole for advertising with us. It was an awesome event and it was great. It was great to have you
Thank you for
advertising with
having me. It was
us.
an honor.
Yes, yes. So how's everything? How's everything going during
Everything's
this
good.
crazy
I
COVID time?
through Corona, I'm probably driving my children crazy more than anything else. But other than that, it's the norm for us. I can't
Yeah,
complain. I won't complain.
right, right, 100%. So do you normally homeschool?
No, I'm both of my daughters are in college, so
Good for
yeah, so
you.
they're on
Amazing.
yes, I have one. She's a freshman at Alabama A&M University, my alma mater, and the other one is at Meharry Medical College. So they're doing their thing. I'm almost an empty nester.
Good for you.
Almost.
That's good. You look amazing, though.
Thank
You
you.
look great.
Thank
Yes, you look awesome.
you. Yes.
So, before we go any further, I guess you could introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I am Nicole Petite, aka Inquisitive I Am. I am a mother first. I am also a published book author of Focus, Fearless, and Fighting. I have another book coming out called The Strength of a Woman from the Depths of My Soul. I am also a speaker, something that I love to do, and also a mentor, my something else that I really enjoy doing. So that's pretty much what I do. I'm also in the IT field. I'm an IT nerd during the day. So that's something that's very interesting. I do promote STEM, especially for Black women, something that whenever I'm in the boardroom, I'm the only one there. So I always encourage, especially our Black women, to pursue careers in the STEM field because there's not many of us there at all. But that pretty much sums it up for me.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, So how did you get started in everything? Like, I mean, you're an author, you're out there motivational speaking. Talk to us about it.
Well, the book started with my oldest daughter initially. Her peers became my children. And I've always been very open with my children, like maybe too open for some. Some people can't handle how open I am with my children with the things we talk about. We actually just had a conversation probably about an hour ago. I had to mute the phone because other people will grab their pearls if they hear the way we talk to each other, but it's genuine and it's honest and it's raw and uncut. And that's how my mom raised me. So that's how I am with my children. I want them to be able to ask me whatever they feel, because if they don't get it from me, they're going to get it out there in the street. And it's probably not going to give them the right answer. So the book
Right.
started with me becoming parents or mentors to her peers because they weren't able to reach out to their parents the way she was able to reach out to me. And it kind of clicked. And people pay attention when you don't realize they're paying attention. And I started getting questions about how am I doing this with my daughters, or how did I accomplish this with my daughters? And it's all an opinion. We're parents, that's trial and error. You never know when you get it right. And if you don't get it right, you just have to acknowledge that you didn't get it right and try another way. And so I've had trial and error with my children ever since they've been around. And fortunately, I think I've done a good job at it. That's what we do as parents. We're going to give ourselves credit. We really don't say we've done a bad job. So
Yep.
the book started with that process, with me just pretty much reminding myself, what did I do from the time my children were born to now? What did I do to put them in a position to, one, be successful, to be respectful, and to make sure that they can take care of themselves financially? What did I do? And when I think about the very first chapters in the book or the introduction, I just talk about love. Giving your children as much love as you possibly can, because some of us don't know how to give love because we didn't receive love as children growing up. So we have all this
Mhm.
generational curse, things that we have to deal with subconsciously because we don't realize that it's bad. And so I had to kind of take myself out of that box to say, okay, what is it that I want to take that I think my mom did do correctly? What do I want to take that and put it and instill it into my children? For example, my mom, she smoked cigarettes. As crazy as it sounds, I love the smell of her lighting up that cigarette. It's nostalgia for me. It's crazy as that sounds, but I knew I
Yeah.
didn't smoke. Nothing in my mind told me that that was wrong because my mom did that all of my life. But I knew that was something
Right.
I didn't want to do. So that's how I learned to separate whatever that I did like or that I gravitated to that I thought was positive, how my mom raised me. And I started to do my children the same way. And what didn't work, I threw out. What worked, I kept. And so that's how the book pretty much came into fruition from, and they're called lessons in the book, not chapters, because if someone decided to purchase the book, they can go to whatever lesson it is, whether their child is um, 5 years old, 15 years old, whether they're going in elementary school, middle school, high school, going off to college, if they're gay or lesbian and you're trying to figure out how to deal with those emotions. I talk about it all, and it all came from me being objective. I'm never a biased person, even when it comes to my own children. Parents, we say it's okay to be biased with your children. I don't think it's okay to be biased with your children. I think you still need to be objective and understand that we were young too. I don't know what my children have done behind my back, and I never put anything past them because I know what I've done. So we have to be
Right.
objective, and that's pretty much what the book talks about as far as how to deal with emotions, especially in the social media realm. The social media is raising our children. So how do you
Yeah.
compete with that as a mom when your children are constantly like this on the phone and you're trying to instill traditional ways and they're still like this? They're not, it's hard to kind of comprehend or gravitate to what you're trying to teach them. So that's the book gives you one-on-ones and how to adjust in the social media age. And I still go to that book to say, wait a minute, did I say this? Wait a minute, did I have these rules? So I think it's still a great book. As long as we're spitting out kids, it's a read.
Yeah. For sure. It sounds amazing. So talk to us about some of the other lessons that are in that book so that we could definitely,
Oh, well,
go and grab that.
can I gutter with you for a little bit? Can I get gutter with you?
Get gutter, girl.
Get gutter with you. One of the things I talk about in the book is how I explain sex to my children.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation about if you can't cut the light on and look at it with the lights on in your face, you're not ready to have sex. You're not supposed to put it in you. You have to be comfortable enough in your body in that sexual aspect to know this is something I want to do. You're not doing it for the boy, you're doing it for yourself. We
Mhm.
don't really know what sex is at such an early age. We're just doing it. We don't even know what an orgasm is. So that's something that
Right.
a lot of parents had me to talk to their children about because they didn't know how to talk to their children about it.
Right.
But we talk about how to put on the condoms. A lot of boys don't know how to put on condoms. Ask me how I know, because I mentor. They've had these conversations with me. They are asking me,
Mhm.
Miss Petite, how do I do it? So we're having lessons with whatever pencil or whatever to show them how to put
Right.
condoms because they don't know. And we assume that they do. So that's one of the first eye catchers in the book is that I initially start the book talking about sex. That's how we get to where we are with raising children. And a lot of us shy away from it. I don't shy away from it at all. I've held classes at high schools where, regardless of what I come to talk about, they change the subject to sex. And we'll get on the subject as far as talking about sexually transmitted diseases. And everybody is like, oh my gosh, like the children are not even aware that all this stuff is really going on because all they're talking about is the goodness of what they think about sexual intercourse.
Yes, yeah.
So these are
Yeah.
conversations that when I meet children right now at the age of 15, 16, 17, and 18, they are clueless because they're going by what social media is telling them and it's not telling them anything good. Bad. It's telling them all the good about what they think they're getting into. So
Right.
we talk about that. We talk about how to deal with if your child can't read or if your child is not getting the lesson. As a parent, what do you do? I've ran into quite a few parents who shun their children. I'm not sure if you've heard, maybe so, because it's become cliche now, where children come home with homework and parents say, I don't know how I'm going to help you. You on your own. And that's the first
Mhm.
rejection they get as far as education. And now their self-esteem is not where it needs to be, and they don't have the motivation to continue on. So now they're sitting in the back of the classroom, they're not learning anything, and they're embarrassed. So what do you do as a parent? And that's where the book comes in. When your child comes home from school and they have a lesson that they don't understand, it's okay to admit you don't understand it either.
Yeah.
Give them the resources. Let them know, baby. Mama don't know, but I'm gonna help you find the resources so you can complete this lesson. I'm the first resources of my children, period. When they wake up in the morning, whether they're here with me or not, I'm the first person they call for resources. I need to be able to provide them with whatever resource they're asking me for. That way I know they're gonna get the best resource. If your child is in under not undergrad, but in grade school, and they come to you for help and you can't be there to give them that help, what do you expect them to do? A lot of parents
Right.
don't want to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong because you're human first. And I've apologized to my children when I am wrong. It's okay. I'm confident in myself to know it's okay to apologize what they're going to do. And so we've established that. Right now, I think my children I don't think it's about punishing them, of course, because they're pretty much grown at this point. But even in their younger years, I don't think it was about them getting in trouble. They didn't want to disappoint me. And that was a level of respect that I established with them from the way I communicated with them. It wasn't all about, well, if I do this or if I don't do this, my mom's gonna put me on punishment. It was more so, well, if I do this, mom's gonna be upset with me or mom's gonna be disappointed with me. That's the way you want your children to think. You don't want them to feel like they're not gonna do something because they're gonna get in trouble. That's not productive. That's actually counterproductive. I get it when they're younger, they can't mentally grasp why they shouldn't do things. But as they get older, the conversations should get longer and you should be able to have those type of conversations with your children. So the book breaks down how to feel, how to pay attention enough to your children to understand when they're losing self respect or self esteem. One thing that I pride myself on in the book is that I talk about back in our day, we didn't have to deal with all the stuff these students are dealing with in school. We just didn't have it. We didn't have social media, so we didn't have all the distractions. So, in
Yeah.
my opinion, and you can break it down how you want to, you have 100% going to school. You have
Mhm.
20% drugs, 20% sex, 20%
Mhm.
fighting, 20%, I can't remember what the other 20% was, drama, and then you have 20% education. So you have 80% of distraction and 20% education. How in the hell do you expect your child to actually go to school and focus on education throughout the day when they have their phone in their hand all day? It's so many distractions. So when you think about it like that, when you send the child off to the classroom and they get back home, the first thing you need to ask is, how was your day? Did you learn anything?
Right.
They really have it hard. We don't ask these questions. We just assume that the teacher got it. They gonna get it. And we've had a rough day. Look here. Nobody told me to have these children, so I got to take care of them. I have to mold them mentally to where they need to be. Because I say to this day, the mind is the strongest part of it all. You need to make sure your children have the right mental capacity throughout their days, especially while they're dealing with their peers, to make sure that they can go on the next day. I've ran into so many students whose self-esteem is crashed because they can't talk to their parents. They can't talk to the educators. The educators are frustrated, rightfully so. Their peers pretty much have the same issues that they have. So none of them are talking about the things they should be talking about. So when they get home, you
Mhm.
know how your husband or the wife get home and you like, I know you had a rough day. Our children are having rough days too. I don't care how old
Yeah.
they are. They're having rough days too. So when they come home from school, ask them, how was your day? Did you learn anything today? Did what happened today that made you happy? What happened today that made you sad? Have these
Right.
conversations. Allow your children to ask you questions. I remember my oldest daughter asking me in the seventh grade, and she say she don't remember this. And you know, they say, "Mama, you don't know what you're talking about." We go back and forth about this all the time, but I remember it because I almost hit the car in front of me when she asked. But she asked me getting in the car, "Ma," and whenever she say my name like that, "Ma," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, here it comes." What does sex smell like?
Mm.
Seventh, the seventh grade. But I was glad that she asked me. She could have asked here. She could have asked anybody, and somebody could have probably tried to show her. You know, she could have gotten
Yeah.
any type of response. But I broke it down to her like I am, like I always do, because I don't
Mhm.
sugarcoat anything. I've never sugarcoated anything with my children because my mom didn't sugarcoat it with me. I don't know how to sugarcoat it. The politically correct stance is that's above me. I have no idea how to do that. And now that my youngest daughter is of age, she's worse. She's worse than my oldest daughter. You have no idea what's going to come out of her mouth. You just have to be prepared for it. But you need to be
Yeah.
ready to answer the question because she's going to
Mhm.
ask. She's not going to hesitate to ask. She's going to ask you as if she's asking you if it's cold outside. That's how the question comes
Yeah.
out. But you may want to grab your pearls or who knows. But I'm so glad that I got them to the point to where they know whatever I want to know, I can ask mom, and mom gonna give it to me straight, and then I can maybe go teach my peers the right answer. Or when my
Mhm.
girlfriends are talking on the phone with me and they talking this nonsense, I can check them and let them know what it really is. I think all that
Right.
matters. So
Yeah.
girl, I go on and on about that book because I put my heart and soul in it. I still, I
Yeah.
said what I said in that book. I meant what I said. And I still
Mhm.
abide by everything I wrote in that book because it was genuine. It is truly how I raised my children. I don't know what path my children will take when they're gone and grown. But one thing I do know, they have the resources. I've given them the knowledge. So if they get out there and do something wrong, it's not going to be because they didn't know. It's going to be because they just wanted to. They have all the
Yeah.
resources they need. And I have to be okay with that. And I am. I'm okay with that. It's
Yeah.
definitely not because they didn't know. They have it all. They really do. So the book is hot.
It sounds so. I mean, I am really interested, especially around the conversation of sex, right?
Yeah,
Because as parents, do we know how to initiate the conversation? What is the right age? Like, you know what
right,
I mean? There's all those factors. So,
right.
what would you say is like the right age to start talking to your kids about that?
Well, I honestly think the right age is as soon as you know that they're on social media, because they're getting it as soon as they get on social. I had a relative, I think he was young, 7 or 8. He was young. He was on social media talking about sex, 7 or 8 years old, because that's one of the first things that they're curious. I mean, and it's okay. I don't think being curious is a bad thing. Some parents, back in the day, it's like you don't need to be in the room when old people talking, or they don't like
Right.
being curious. I personally believe when a child asks you a question, that's the best time to talk to them about whatever you need to talk to them about, because now you have their
True.
undivided attention. So whenever my children would ask me anything, oh, we would have a good sit down, because now I know you're
Mhm.
absorbing whatever I'm talking to you about. So when it comes to talking to your child about sex, I say immediately, because they're getting it. They're getting it, and of course, you don't want to come, if they're 9 or 10, you don't want to come out and be like, look here, you fuck it. I mean, of course, you don't want to do that. But because there are different ways you want to communicate with them, of course, but they're getting it. And social media, the things that I have seen, or my children have even shown me that they're seeing on social media when it comes to sexual activity, it is, listen, I'm in my 40s, and I don't know about the stereotype, but I know how I get down when it comes to that. There's some things going on that I'm just like, oh my gosh, that it's bad, but they're getting it. Have you ever heard of rainbow?
No.
Okay, let me tell you what that is. And this is what I got from the teenagers.
Educate me.
Yeah, let me tell you. Rainbow is when has sex with a boy with her cycle on. And
Oh.
then afterwards, she gives him oral sex. I got this from a 15-year-old. So,
Mm.
so they're teaching me some things. I'm like, oh wow, y'all are really bored.
Sure.
Like y'all got to be bored. Y'all are just trying stuff now. So you
Yeah.
have to start early, especially when your daughters are developing. These boys are watching these girls growing boobs and they're paying attention to that because the TV is exposing them to that. Social media is
Right.
exposing them to that. At the age of 10, you have 5-year-old little boys squeezing mannequins, because that's what we expose our children to every single day, whether it's the music, whether it's TV, or whether it's social media. They are getting it in all realms. So you better believe when your 10-year-old daughter is growing boobs, that 10-year-old little boy is looking. It's time to have a
Mhm.
conversation. It's time to at least start asking her, is such and such trying to flirt with you? Or you got a little boyfriend? You can start like that, but you need to start.
Mhm.
It definitely needs to start somewhere, and as soon as you possibly can. Ask questions. What you doing, girl? He got your phone number. He wrote you a yes or no question. Gonna be my girlfriend. Start it how you need to start it, but it needs to start, because they're gonna do it,
Mhm.
and it's best that they at least have some type of knowledge about it before they engage in any of it.
Wow. Yeah, so I guess the kids that you speak to keep you up to date on what's really popping out there, eh?
Girl, I don't know if I need a drink or some drugs before I have these conversations with these children. Because they really do keep me up to date with what's going on. And they do that because they can't talk to their parents. So when they get this information, they come to me to ask me about it. Well, Miss Petite, did you hear about this? Or, well, what does this mean? And sometimes I have to Google it, like, oh, I ain't never heard of that before.
Yeah,
But we figure it out together. And that's what
right.
we figure it out together. I don't shun them. I know I started mentoring one young boy. He cursed a lot, and some of the other, well, of course, the educators and other adults would chastise him, like, you don't talk like that, you don't talk. And I remember we were in a forum. I used to have what I call brain dumps in one of my mentoring courses, and that way you can allow the children to vent. I can educate them on just random things. It's a nerd session where we just talk about whatever. They can vent and ask me questions about whatever. And this particular young man, he would curse all the time. And one of the parents walked in when he was talking like that, and she was offended. She was like, "You let him talk." I was like, "Don't do that. If that's his delivery for right now, let that be his delivery, because he got it from you. He didn't
Right.
just decide to wake up one morning. He wasn't calling me out of my name. He was just cursing in his sentences. He knew it wasn't right, but at the same time, it was something that he had been doing all his life. That's the language he learned. So I'm not going to tell him, don't do that, don't do that. I'll let him know, hey, chill out on the curse words. And eventually, he stopped cursing, at least around me. He stopped cursing. But you have to give them a chance to recognize what they're doing and it's not right, but don't chastise them because we grow up doing things that we think are okay. And if you tell me it's not okay, it's like telling someone you can't have cake. I love sweets. So if all of a sudden you tell me I can't have cake, you might get cursed out, you know? So it's the same analogy with trying to transform mental conditions because of the way they grew up. If they grew up in a household where their mom and dad cursed them out, called them bitches and hoes, or the N-word, that's what they're going to call their peers and eventually you. That's how the conversation is going to be, and it's going to be their norm. So when they come to you in that manner, I would never suggest chastising them. Allow them to relax. Give them a moment to vent and say what they need to say. And in the midst of, because once you earn a respect, and I hate to say earn respect, because that's something I don't believe in either. I think respect should be given. I don't think I should have to earn respect from anyone. That should be, you can lose respect, but I don't think I have to earn it. But once they become comfortable, then it's something that they'll start to do because they want you to be happy with them. They don't want to disappoint you. And that's what I've always been able to establish with my mentees is they don't want to upset Miss Petite. They want Miss Petite to be proud of them. And so they were able to transform into the students and the young people that they need to be successful in the future and know how to be transformed and how to be what I call chameleons, because I'm able to adapt and my children are able to adapt to any environment. If I have to be ghetto fabulous, if I need to be professional, you know, whether I need to be bougie, we know how to adapt to any environment we're in. And that's one of the things that I would teach the mentees, whether I would take them to a fancy restaurant because they've never been exposed to that. I think exposure is key. Or whether we would just have dictionary day to where I would come to our meetings and write one word on the board that they've never seen before. Because I think we were disenfranchised on purpose, especially when it comes to ACT taking. Those are the areas that we fail in because we're not used to those. We don't read as much as we should in the low income communities. So our children are not aware of things like that. And when it's time to take the ACT, these are the type of words that are in the ACT exam for them to get accepted into college. We're not writing the ACT exams. They are. So these are things that I would do to just give them, okay, I learned a new word today. Now try to use it in a sentence, whether you're at home with your mom or your peers, and they're going to look crazy, but continue to do that. And that's something that I did, especially during the brain dumps, to just give them a different realm of life. You know, we would do the college tours. These children have never seen college campus before in their life. And if it wasn't for me exposing them to that, they never would. So children who were never motivated to go to college are now in college. One of my first mentees in another program I hosted, he went on his first college tour with me, and we went to FAMU because I don't do PWIs. I'm only doing HBCU college, predominantly white institutions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only doing HBCUs. I'm not studying PWIs. So we went to FAMU, and he filled out the paperwork. He received $133,000 scholarship.
What?
Wouldn't have never known he was capable of doing that. It gives me goosebumps. It still gives me goosebumps. But these are the things that I instill in my children, and I try to instill in others. And I say try because my children, you know, they get it. They, you know, I'm like this with them. With the other students, I can't do that. You know, they get it and then they go back home to whatever they're being learned, you know, whatever they're learning there. But my children probably tired. They get it. You know, when I make hard decisions, I hear my mom. I would hope that when they get older and they're out on their own, that when they get ready to make hard decisions, they will hear me. And I hope that's the generation that we present to each other as they get older and they have their children and their children have their children. Because the generation of curses, I say that often, I don't like it, is something that we have to change. And I think the change needs to start with whomever is able to listen, whether it's my children. Even my mom has changed some things based on a lot of the readings I've done. She's like, I can't believe I did that. She's even acknowledging some of the things that she did that she didn't agree with, that she don't agree with now, that she was okay with when she was raising me. So communication is key, being objective is key. And of course, I think it's clear as my passion. I want to see us doing well, and I want to see us doing well starting young, because that's when it really makes a huge impact.
Yeah, you definitely are passionate about this. Like just listening to you talk about this, I'm just like, wow, like this seems amazing. I can't believe the amount of work that you've done.
Yeah.
So how do you get into the schools? Like you've just like you're in high schools, or what type of schools do you
Um,
mentor these
that's
children?
high schools and elementary schools. The last one I've done that was my biggest was an elementary school, and it was the best one thus far. But it comes with pretty much most of the not the superintendents, but the principals. They're my age, so it's somebody that I know or somebody that has heard of the work I'm doing, and they'll call me and ask me to come in and speak to the students. And the last one, and it's beautiful to get paid for doing that. That's also a beautiful thing. But one of the principals, her thing was they have people of different skin tone come in and have speaking engagements with these children on a regular basis, and they never connect with the students. And they give them all of this money to speak for 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and then they're gone. Well, the first day I came in to do the speaking with, it was all girls. It was so emotional. The educators were crying, of all races. When it was over, the bell rang. They told the students to go to class, going off to class. They bum rushed me on stage. The girls were crying. I started to cry. I still have pictures of them hugging me because I was so genuine with everything I said to them, and they were able to relate to it. And that's why I think when we're having these conversations, especially as Black people, we need to be open to these children with what's really going on, and we don't do that. We try to sugarcoat it, or there are certain things we won't talk to them about when they can probably educate us. I know I've been educated on some things with these children. Look, girl, I'm taking notes. Like, wait a minute, wait, go back. What did you say?
I'm taking notes right now. Trust me.
We have to understand it's okay. We're both learning. We're learning from
Yeah.
each other. I'm learning from them, whether it's, how they act or just being observant of what they're going through, because these children are going through so much, especially the ones that are at home and they're coming to school and they didn't eat breakfast. They're hungry. They weren't able to shower because the water bill wasn't paid. They don't have power, or they need new clothes. So it's a whole realm. Oh gosh, that I can go on and on with you about that I've experienced just being with these children on a regular basis. They catching hell. They really are at the age of 10. They're catching hell. They're going through all this, and their mom or their dad and bopped them upside their head before they walk out the door to go to school and called them all kind of names. And now they got to go to school hungry, depressed, disrespected, and you want them to learn? Not happening. It's not happening. They're not trying to, they can care less what x plus x2 squared equals c. They don't care about that when they go to school. Like, no. So this is why we have to take things into consideration in the classroom, but we don't. I don't think we pay enough attention to that. Or then we have the no school left behind, that was tragic because our children are not even reading. We don't even take the time to read. And I don't always blame the parents, because the parents can't read. There are a lot of parents who can't read. So what do? You rush them through school, and if they can't read, it's like going to a foreign country. If you don't understand the language, how are you going to live? It's no different when a child can't read in their own country. How are they going to survive? I'm still trying to get the answer to that question. So
Yeah.
it is, oh, it's so much. It's so much.
Wow. My gosh. Very inspiring, especially like I'm a parent. I have three kids. So the kids are young.
Mhm.
My eldest is going to be 11 next year. So
Oh,
these are conversations that I need to start having with my
yes.
kids. That, I'm pretty honest with my kids. I tell them pretty much what's up.
Mhm.
I don't, I'm not too raw with them yet,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty open, with my kids. If
Okay.
they ask me a question and I'm honest 100%. So I tell them 100% the truth of whatever they ask me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
these are the conversations that I need to start having because I do have two daughters as well, and they're the
Yes.
eldest. So,
Yes. Yeah.
it's
And
I
they
gotta
drive
have the
you crazy.
conversation.
They're gonna drive you crazy, but it's part of it's part of mine drive me crazy at least once a day for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But it's okay. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah,
They don't know that. I mean,
100%.
I wouldn't change it.
For sure, for sure. But I remember in your bio that you had sent me, you were talking about changing your smile into a real one.
Oh,
There's a lot of people out here who do that fake it to make it type of thing. You know what I mean?
yes.
Talk to us about what that means.
The first time I heard that cliche, fake it to make it, I was a mortgage broker, and we were taught for some strange reason to buy the fancy car, to make sure you dress nice, keep your hair up. As you see, that no longer works for me. Um, it was this fake it till you make it to pretend, and I think and I'll go back again as Black women, and I'm sure this is in all races, and I guess I focus on Black because that's what I am. That's what I
Yeah,
pay attention to the most. Self-preservation is something that I've truly believed in, and I still believe in it. So when, and of course it goes back in the day, that fake it till you make it or putting on this fake smile. I think that has established so many mental instabilities in our lives because we've allowed ourselves to not be able to heal from whatever it is that we're faking. So
yeah,
we focus on faking it or putting on this smile, and we put so much effort into that and not putting any effort into healing. I, for one, have experience with that. I don't know if I told you, but I have anxiety. Some days it's horrible. Sometimes it's horribly embarrassing. Some days I can control it to the point to where my children, my youngest especially, she is at the point to where when I have one, she really doesn't react as much because she's been around it enough. She knows how to handle me. If I have a bad one, she knows how to handle me. Will she have a panic attack in the process? Maybe so. I don't know. But I remember growing up and going through these emotions, and you know how children, they cry and they, they be mad and they're crying, and they're just, those are emotions that I found out in myself. It was anxiety. So growing up, this fake it till you make it, or this hiding behind smiling, we were actually struggling, but we were told to put on this even back in the slave days. We were
hmm
told to, Master said this. But when it's time to, put on that smile, we got to put on that smile for Master. So we can go all the way back again, back to all the way to when we did have slavery, to where that's what we did, and we're still doing it. We
yeah,
One thing that I still harp on, and that's a Black woman, and this, it burns me up just to even bring it up again. Black women, we've been put into this thing to where we can't even have emotions. We've been
right.
put with this strong vendetta, this strong Black woman thing, that, and you'll have to copy my second book to understand where I go, because I'm naming the book The Strength of a Woman. But if you think about this, if you're out in public, well, let me give you this scenario, something that I've actually seen. This young lady was, and I said this on this last interview I was on. This young Black girl, she couldn't have been no more than 24, 25 maybe. She was coming from the club, had on her heels, her fitted dress, hair done, just pretty girl. She's trying to flip over her car. I don't know how her car got on the side. I don't know if she was intoxicated, or if she just, whatever happened, could have been an honest, somebody ran off the road. She's trying to flip her car over in her stilettos and form-fitting cute dress. You know what was going on that I don't know if anybody recognized? It was a Black man videoing her. He was videoing her trying to turn her car over onto the four wheels, not trying to help her, not telling her, baby girl, get back. Me and some other brothers gonna help you do this. He was videoing her doing that. Now, if it would have been of another race, do I think it would have been different? Absolutely. Because we're not ever put in an environment where we can be of a weaker specimen. We have to be strong, or she got it. But if we're of another race, oh, she's in distress. Oh, she crying. But if we do that, oh, ain't nothing wrong with her. She's okay. And I hate that. And that's a stigma that was put on us as Black women. And that's a stigma that we've accepted. We're now in the club talking about INDEP. No, it's okay to be independent. But we picked up this girl, Boosie he just pushed it on out there. But we have this Black mentality that society has put on us, and we've accepted it. It's almost to me like they giving us the N word and we accepting it. It's like they giving us the B word and we accepting it. None of that is good to me. None of it. So I don't accept this strong Black woman stigma that's been attached to me. I'm in my situation and I'm truly blessed, but I'm not in this situation because I want to be. I'm in this situation because I have to be. I don't have anybody that's willing to help or that has been here to help. So are we strong enough mentally to where we have that tenacity to pull through? Yes, clearly we do. But it's nothing that it's nothing that I want to just claim and say, I don't need nobody. No, that's a lie. I don't want to struggle because that strong Black woman is a badge of struggle to me. All I'm doing is telling you I've struggled to get where I am today. Who wants to own that? I don't want to own that. I mean, okay, I got it. You did that, girl. But I don't want to walk around telling everybody I'm a strong Black woman, because that's why I think, in my opinion, that a lot of men feel the way they feel because it's something that we've owned. I don't need you. I don't need a man. I got this. No, we should be vulnerable women because that's what we are by nature. It should be okay to be vulnerable. Now, if you cry in front of a man, he gonna look at you like you crazy, or he gonna tell you why you crying. But if someone of another race, it's an entire different feeling when they see someone else be emotional. What's wrong with that picture? So those are the things that I talk about in my upcoming book. And the book is kind of like a circle. It's a circle of generations. And the title is not what I'm claiming to be. It's the end of the book is where you will go, oh, that's where she was going with it. Because it's nothing, I don't like that stigma at all. Is she's a strong Black woman. I hate when men say that to me. I'm offended when I hear that, because that's nothing that I want to claim and say, well, yeah, I have struggled. So now I'm struggling, I got what I got, but I had to struggle to get it. Nobody wants to struggle. I don't know anybody who wants to struggle. I don't know a soul.
No. And then how do we support other women? Because I feel like other women, don't necessarily, we don't necessarily support one another when we see each other struggling either. It's kind of like, oh, well, that's her problem, or, she's going through this and this and that. It's like nobody wants to help. How do we deal with that?
And that's bad. I think we do. I think we're trying to do a little bit better now, because right now, and this is probably hard. I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm gonna say it. Black women now we are a fad right now. So we have to do what we need to do to remain who we genuinely are in the public face. So now is the time, since everybody's really paying attention to the Black woman, is the time to be vulnerable, is the time to help each other, is the time to reach out, because right now the world is watching. We are put on public display right now, and it's up to us to make it a good thing or a bad thing. And I have a show that I host called Inquisitive I Am, and the purpose of the show is for us to create our own narrative. So these are conversations that we need to have, whether we're having them in silos or whether we're having them publicly, or whether we need to reach out to someone who just to say, hey girl, how you doing? I don't know if it's my age group. I think that has a lot to do with it when you're getting older. And I pause to say maturity, because just because you're of age does not mean you're mature. I know that too. But I think it comes a lot with maturity as we get older, to recognize what needs to be done to make our generation, as far as the children are concerned, better. So right now, I think the best thing to do is something that I try to do is reach out, say something positive to a woman. Again, this is all going back to things that we did growing up that we were taught to do. And we have to recognize that we don't have to continue that, because whatever you're doing successfully is not going to rock my boat. You can't rock my
Right.
boat. I hear people all the time say, what God has for you is for you. But on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
they will still withhold information, or not want to help you in any form or fashion. All of this, in my opinion, just from the thing, and I say my opinion because of things that I've read. I'm an advocate reader, something I love to do. My children will hide my Kindle when they want to piss me off. I love to read. That's something they've done. But even going back to some of the history of us, is we don't understand what collectivism is. We understand individualism. Why?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was you on your own. We can't get caught
Yeah.
up in groups. You got to go that
Mm-hmm.
way. You got to go. Master gonna get you. So guess
Mm-hmm.
what? We still have that mindset, and none of it's on purpose. None of it is on
Yeah.
purpose. But when we have to stop and say, wait a minute, if you walk out your front door, what's wrong? Who owns what? Something else I teach and talk about all the time is building wealth. Collectivism is another huge topic that I have, because we can't do anything by ourselves in this society because we are a
Yeah.
minority. So how do we fix that? When you think about Black businesses, what happened with Black businesses? When you think about Tulsa, I have a t-shirt that I hashtag Black Wall Street, because there's so many of us didn't even know what that was. But you know who knew what that was? They did. They knew what Black Wall
Mm-hmm.
Street was. We didn't know what it
Yeah.
was. So what happened? We were collective, and we did what we needed to do to build our own communities. We don't even have communities anymore. We don't even have neighborhoods. When we abbreviated and called it the hood, that's what it is, because it's not a neighborhood. It's not a community. Communities, you have everything you need. You have your gas station, your grocery stores, whatever stores you need. If you go into the Black communities now, you have Ahmed on the corner with his gas station, stripping you of all your money, taking it back home with his
Yeah.
oil. He's not putting anything back in that Black community. He's taking all your money. And these are things that we have to step out of this box and be like, dang, when are we going to recognize what's going on? And all of this goes into the aspect of when we realize we're all in the same boat, we have to start
Yeah.
uplifting each other. It goes all the way back to what you asked. How do we start to uplift each other? Educate each other. Let everybody know who's around you what's really going on. This is what you've noticed. Because at a certain age, you have to have an aha moment. If they don't want
Yeah.
to, grasp it, that's fine. Put the information out there. Call your girlfriend up and say, girl, let's go have a drink or a cup of water or whatever fits you, because we're all going through the same thing. Nobody, when
Yeah.
we talk about civil war, what we don't think about is we don't have to pull out guns or any of that. We don't have to have any of that. They can cut off our food supply, our water supply. We'll all be dead in a month. Nobody has to
Yeah.
shoot anybody. So do we recognize the fact that we don't grow anything? We don't have access to build this for our own survival. This is where my mind goes. So when I have these conversations with these other Black women who I know have gone through emotional stress as I have, I am sensitive. I'm not, girl, you're going to be okay. Girl, you strong. That's the last thing I'm going to tell her, because she needs to be able to go through it. In my upcoming book, I call it shedding. You need to be able to go through it in order to build from where you need to go. I prepped myself from when I went through my divorce. I told my children, Mama gonna probably lose some weight. I'm gonna cry and lose my mind, but I'm gonna be okay. But just know that I'm gonna have to go through this phase. And they allowed me to go through this phase. Some days it scared them. Some days they didn't pay me any attention. They allowed me to just cry in my room and maybe bought me a smoothie because I wasn't eating that day. But it was a process that I had to, girl, seriously. It was a process that I had to go through. That is
Yeah.
human nature. That's what we do. And it was okay. And they didn't say, Mama strong. Well, they did, because for a while they started calling me a strong Black man. And it was funny But it was an aha moment for all three of us. No, we don't want to be strong Black men. We don't even really have to be these strong Black women. We just want to be who we are. That's it. And so they stopped calling me a strong Black man because they had their own aha moment. Like, dang, that really ain't cool. But they knew that was a process of vulnerability that I had to go through. When they're emotional, I know it's a process that they have to go through. And all I could do is be there for them, motivate them. But don't tell them, girl, you got this, you're going to be okay. No, allow them to feel how they feel to make them normal so they won't need a shrink in 5 years, because we won't allow them to be who they are because they're holding some things in, or they're hiding behind the smile that we talked about. I don't force my children to do that. They're allowed to cry, and they've called me bipolar because I cry right now and cuss you out 5 minutes later, but I'm getting it out. I've read
Yeah.
even today that said your emotions are the biggest liars of all times because they change every minute. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because I'm allowed now to feel how I need to feel, to get through what I need to get through, whether I'm prepping for it. But it's a reality that we all just have to accept, and we won't accept that. So when your girlfriend needs to cry, if you don't have words, just hold her. Let her get it out.
Yeah.
Don't tell her she gonna be all right, because she might not be all right. If we think about suicidal rates, they're pretty high in the Black community. Don't tell them she gonna be all right. Just be there and hold her. Let her get it out. Let her curse. Let her cry. Cry with her even if you need to. But we have to be more acceptable of our emotional feelings when it comes to hurt feelings or angry feelings. Even when I see a woman that's angry, typically she's hurting about something, and that's how she's putting those emotions out, through anger. If you've ever dealt with an angry woman, and I have, if you're soft with her, she typically goes to crying. She don't go
Yeah.
from angry to, she goes from angry to crying. The crying is the initial emotion because she's hurting and she don't know how to get it out. And we don't know how to deal with each other. So that's what we have to start recognizing. Be like, I ain't dealing with her. She's stupid. She on something. We have to stop doing each other like that. And of course, sometimes you don't want to deal with it. But it's okay, especially if it's somebody you love. Backtrack, check on, because we don't have anybody checking on us. They checking on everybody else but us. So we got to get there.
Definitely. I mean, sisterhood is something that I really believe in, you know, and I feel like it's lacking in the Black community amongst us Black women.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, we are doing better.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting there,
We're getting
but
there.
we need to push them a little bit harder. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with it. There's so many benefits from having these types of conversations, like, just going back and forth. What are the types of like feedback that you get from some parents, children about the conversations that you have?
Oh, girl, I've been cursed out. My parents cursed me out. I've been shunned. I've even been told I couldn't speak at a school because of my delivery, because of what I talk about. Doesn't bother me at all, because what I learned from those type of engagements is that you're hiding, you're sheltering these children. It's something that you don't want them to know. And I understand the politically correct part. So if you're trying to be politically correct, of course I'm not the person to call. That's just is I'm not going to be that person. I'm okay with not being that person. And so even when the parents get upset, I don't even respond, because I'm like, you knew what you were getting. I am who I am. I didn't change colors. I didn't change anything. What you got and whomever influenced you to bring your child to me, now you're having to deal with the aftermath of your child having their eyes open. And now they're coming home asking you questions that you can't answer. And now you're mad at me. Okay. So when you keep your child away, what does that child do? The child texts me. They do it every time. What do I do as a parent who has forbidden someone to not talk to my child? It's been hard for the most part. It was confidential. I didn't say anything to the parent. I gave that child an outlet. I've had young Black men text me at 11 o'clock at night. You can tell they were in tears. They have both parents at home, and they're texting me at 11 o'clock at night. A set of the parents, one of the mothers, who went off on me because she didn't like the things I was saying to their child. But you had no clue that your child was about to have a nervous breakdown at 16 because they're overwhelmed. But you mad at me? So I learned to become numb to things like that as far as the negative feedback. But as far as the great feedback, of course, is what pushes me to continue to do what I'm doing. The parents are pretty much letting me know I'm telling them, their children, things that they could never do. And they appreciate that. Even the Bible toters of all Bible toters give me their children because they know they're not in a Bible toting world. They know they're in a heathen world. And they know they have to give the children the information based on how they're interpreting it now. And unfortunately, it's not through the Bible. So they still give me their children, knowing that whatever I tell them is going to be the right thing. And it's going to be something they understand. So the positive feedback I get from the children finishing school, from my philanthropy, from allowing children to finish semesters in school because their parents can't afford it, that is what drives me to continue to do whatever I can for any parent or child. If I can tell them anything, I'm going to continue to do that. And my children are doing it now. You know, it's not about what you see, it's what they learn. So my especially my youngest, she's me when it comes to younger children. And I've seen this and I laugh and chuckle. And my oldest, she has a different type of passion when it comes to children. And I know they got it from watching me. It wasn't anything I taught them. They got that from watching me. My youngest is like an old lady when she's 18 now. If she's around another 18-year-old or younger, you would think she's 40. The way she talked to these children, and she's right. And I know where she's getting the information from. And she don't mind challenging her professors in a polite way, you know, especially when she was in high school. She didn't have a problem with questioning her educators about things that she didn't agree with, especially when it came to history. That was a huge no-no for my youngest daughter. She couldn't stand that. But they are turning into me, and they probably hate to hear that, like, oh, I don't want to turn it to you, Mom. But these are the things that have allowed me to continue to keep pushing. The positive feedback, the tears, the joy that I get from the students when they're able to accomplish things that they felt like they would have never been able to do otherwise. That's my drive.
That's amazing. So, like, what type of advice, if you had any top advice that you would give to the youth out there right now, what would it be?
Today, that advice would be something that I've always pushed is you are what you call them. You will become what you call them. If I wake up every day and call my children stupid every day, they will eventually think that they are stupid. Period. Mentally first. Everything starts here. We program what we program. So my advice, I think especially today, is that I every and tell themselves something good about themselves. Because as soon as they pick them phones up, they're seeing false beautification of everything around them. Even when having conversations with my children about pictures or beautiful women that they see on social media, I have to remind them, she took 100 pictures to post that one. She knows she's not perfect. So guess what? It's all a facade. None of it's real. I need you to understand, just like the music you listen to, social media is not real either. Accept that. Know that you are beautiful and you got it going on. And don't look at anyone else and think any different. So as far as that advice is, they have to be able to recognize who they are. That, of course, helps with the parents. Sometimes the parents, they're too busy or they just haven't acknowledged that. So children have to be able to tell themselves something good about themselves every single day because they're pushed to believe otherwise every single day. And that would be my advice to any child growing up. Wake up every morning, just say something great about yourself every single day, whether you have to write it on your mirror with lipstick. I've done that before. When my self-esteem was horrible, I would write, I'm the shit on my mirror. I've done that before. You have to remind yourself of that. And that was a way of me allowing myself to believe that if nobody else did. And it worked. It helped me. So different things will help different people. But as far as the children, they need to be able to tell themselves something positive about themselves every single day.
Yeah, for sure. And then so like as parents, what would some advice would do you have for like the parents out here?
Parents, I would tell parents to listen. Listen to learn, be objective, and don't respond until you truly can understand what your children are talking about. And that's in any conversation, whether it's with a child or with an adult. It's become cliche for us to listen to respond and not listen to comprehend. I think a lot of my lessons and learning have come from listening. I think that's something that we just need to do more of. They say we got 2 ears for a reason. We need to do more listening so we can comprehend exactly what they're feeling, whether it's a child or whether it's your best friend, whether it's your spouse. It's something that we need to do more of, that we don't do enough of.
Very true. So you also do training. Talk to us just a bit about the training that you do.
I don't really do any training per se. I guess I want to call it training because everything is based on just my experience. And it's just for what I've read, what I've learned, what I've attempted to teach, but what I do is I have a website called www.nicolepetite.com. There's an Ask Nicole. And what that is just getting a different opinion about something that you may need another parent's opinion on, or whether even if it's relationships, because girl, I've been through when it comes to, through even relationships. I've gone through humiliation and it all when it comes to relationships, but it's just a different opinion. How would you go about this, or how would you go about that? And I think it's good to have a different opinion, because if you're raised in a certain household, anyone you ask that question to or their opinion is pretty much going to resemble what you were going to do anyway, because you were all raised the same. So if you get an outside, I'm not going to say educated, but an outside opinion, then it'll give you kind of a different way to reflect on what you're trying to do. Or even before you make a decision that can affect you or your children. So it's the button is called Ask Nicole. And anything I answer in patience. I answer it emotionless, because I've had people to come to me about divorce. I am not a candidate. I'm not an advocate for divorce. I truly believe in marriage. So when you come to me about anything, I'm not coming to you and responding with emotions or reflecting on what I've gone through, or even the bad times. I'm going to give you the best response I can give you, where it can better you or whatever relationship that you've experienced. Because even if I've experienced something great, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So that's why it's all an opinion. Even if it's educated, those are still all opinions. They're still all something that somebody experienced or tried and it worked and they wrote it in a book. That's what I've done, but I don't want to take away from the educators or the people who've actually gone to school for things of this nature to try to make it seem like what they've gone through is worthless, because that's not the case. My experiences is what has gotten me to where I am, to where I'm confident to answer questions when it comes to children, or if they want to know your experience with this or that. I'm gonna give you my experience with that, and that's all I can do, and that's all I will do.
Right, for sure. And then so where can we find your book?
My book, the one that's out now, is on Amazon, and it is
Okay.
Focus, Fearless, and Fighting by Nicole Petite. So you can catch it at Amazon right now. I've dropped the price, $10.95, and I'm sure that is a book that you will keep for all times. You can pass down. So if anyone is having kids, or if you have a conversation with a child for 5 minutes, the book is worth buying.
Really, really. And then so give us a little short like synopsis of what you're working on right now, the book that you have coming out.
The upcoming book, The Strength of a Woman, From the Depths of My Soul, is pretty much, again, just experiences from how I've dealt with things, from being at what I consider to be one of my lowest points in life, and how I got through it, and dealing with how I was raised as a child and how I'm repeating some of the same things that my mom did that I never saw myself doing today. So there is a catch to the book that I don't want to spoil it, that you will have to get to closer to the last chapter to understand what was the whole purpose of being a strong woman or the strength of a woman and what we have to hold on to mentally.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much for joining the conversation. I appreciate it. This was very fruitful. I just want to know if you have like a motivational quote or something inspirational that you would like to share with everybody.
Yes, I'll go back to what I said earlier. What you call them is what they will become. Call them something great, whether it's, again, your child, yourself, your spouse, your parents, whomever it is, whether it's a stranger in the street. Give another woman or man a compliment. But whatever you call them is what they will become. So make sure it's something great.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate you for
you.
coming on and
Thank you.
sharing your journey with us. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. You have to like all it was awesome. Awesome. I'm definitely going to look into getting that book
absolutely.
and I'm going to let you know how those conversations go.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, let me know. Let me know. I'm definitely interested in hearing about that. It's going to be fun and it's going to be an
Yeah,
experience, I'm sure.
definitely. Definitely. All right, Nicole. Well, thank you. Have yourself a wonderful night
You too.
and we'll definitely be in touch.
I absolutely
Thank
have a
you.
great one. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye. Wow, guys, that was a very good conversation. I mean, these are some of the things that we all need to know about, right? We need to talk about this kind of stuff, especially sisterhood. She's talking a lot about sisterhood, talking a lot about this typical thing that we have. Everybody's talking about right now, the strong Black woman, right? That was real serious, and what it looks like to be a strong Black woman, and how we need to kind of throw that title away and embrace who we really are. We have emotions. We're emotional women. We should be able to call up another female, call up another male, whoever, a family member, a friend, and let them know, hey, today I'm not feeling so good, and to actually be listened to take that in, for them to respect what our feelings are, right? Instead of saying everything's going to be fine, you'll be fine, and just kind of, you know, telling you not to worry about it, because there's things to worry about, at the time your feelings aren't being validated. So that was huge. I hear more and more people talking about that, like, especially as Black females not being heard. um, and even when we talk to our other Black friends and family members, they kind of have the same response to us when we are going through emotional stuff. But most importantly, she spoke about our children and growing up. And because as parents, you grow with your children, right? So we are going into this, we don't know anything. We think we know. You having a baby, you're getting all the stuff prepared for the child. You think you're ready for that baby, but as soon as the baby comes, it's like it's a whole nother story, right? And then as the baby grows, you grow, the child grows into a toddler, a young individual, and then it's conversation time. They start asking you questions, and it's important to be honest with our kids and then to answer all of their questions. And one of the things that I love that she spoke about was, some of us are at home doing homeschooling, and even if you're not homeschooling, when your kids come home from school, they're doing homework, and sometimes we don't get the homework, we don't understand it, right? Like, math is not my strongest subject, you know what I'm saying? So my kids will come to me and ask me these math questions, and I'm like, I don't get it, like, I really don't know, you know what I mean? But it's important that we research together. So that was really important, because sometimes I'm just like, my kids must think like, what does mom really doesn't know anything about math? Like, I know basic math, I know my multiplication tables, I know, certain things, but it's hard to remember everything that we've learned back in the day. It was so many years ago, you know what I mean? But we have to be honest with our kids. I think that's really important. She touched on that, making sure that we're honest with our children. And then schoolwork is not the only thing that we have to be honest with them about because they're learning a lot out here. There's a lot of things that social media is teaching our kids. Like social media is really out here educating our children on things that sometimes we're not ready to have those conversations with them. And then other times, we may be ready to have those conversations. Regardless, our kids are on social media. And because they're on social media several times a day and on these different platforms, talking to other kids who maybe your kids aren't on this platform, but other kids are, and they're talking to them, they are learning a lot. So it's important to have that kind of open conversation with your children, so that they can come to you easily if they have a question or if they're concerned about something or if there's a something that they want to ask you. It's important that your kids are able to actually come to you and ask you those questions. And then when you give them the right answers, when you speak honestly and openly with your children, to a certain extent, of course, um, they're able to come back to you and continue asking you more and more questions. You want to be the one that your child comes to and asks these questions. You don't want to know that they're asking these questions outside of home, so outside of you, and getting the information, maybe being misguided by other children, other older kids, other adults, even. So it's really important that we have this bond with our children and we develop a bond with our kids and then have that bond grow with our child. So it's our children. It's really, really important. And learning how to take the good, the bad, and the ugly and just go with it. So today's conversation was a real good conversation. I appreciate you guys jumping on. Very, very informative, and definitely you got to go over to NicolePetite.com if you have any questions about whatever. She talks about a whole bunch of different things. She does mentoring in schools. She does a whole bunch of different things. And she really is somebody that you want to get in touch with if you possibly can. You have any questions about how to speak to your kids about different hard subjects, you want to go to NicolePetite.com and just click the Ask Nicole button, and she'll definitely take it in and respond to you as soon as she gets a chance, right? And then her book. She's got a book coming out, which I'm really interested in reading. But for now, she's got that Focused and Fearless book out on Amazon. So you want to definitely head over to Amazon, check her out, Nicole Petite. Awesome individual. She's out here doing big, big things. So I just want to thank you guys so much for joining the conversation. I appreciate you for hopping on, and I'll definitely see you next week, same time, same place, right here, 8 o'clock on What's the 411. Take care.